My phone's been dead for 3 days, I said quietly, staring at the untouched coffee. Then I saw them pull up, Mom and Dad, both stepping out of their SUV like this was a business meeting, not a rescue. They didn't look heartbroken. They looked furious. Dad didn't even sit. He leaned over my table, jaw tight. "Emma, this has gone on long enough. You're acting like a child. You're trying to tear this family apart out of jealousy." That word almost made me laugh. Jealousy? I looked up slowly. I landed the Ashford contract. I built the Sierra line that kept the company alive. I'm the one who actually runs production. What has Luke done besides spend money? Dad's face turned crimson, but he said nothing. He only knew how to be angry. Mom stepped forward, laying a hand on his arm, the calm, controlled peacemaker. Her voice was soft, deadly. "Emma, sweetheart, you've always been strong. We never had to worry about you. Luke's different. He needs this to build confidence. Why can't you just be happy for your brother?" There it was, the truth I'd been chasing my whole life. They weren't punishing me for failure. They were punishing me for strength. Luke didn't earn their love, he required it. I was convenient, self-sufficient, responsible, invisible. I stood, slid my bag over my shoulder. "I understand now," I said evenly. Finally. "Don't you walk away from me," Dad barked, but I was already leaving, the air around me suddenly weightless. They hadn't just handed Luke a company. They'd handed me freedom. That night, I couldn't sleep. At 2 a.m., I drove to their house, parked down the street, and slipped in through the side door with my old key. The floorboards creaked like they remembered me. In the attic, the air smelled of dust and wood shavings. I found my grandfather's old chest, the founder's. The man who built everything they now treated like inheritance. Inside, beneath a faded tarp, I found sketches, designs, and finally, a leather journal. I sat on the floor, reading by my phone's light. His handwriting was bold, deliberate. He wrote about work, about pride, about what it meant to create. Then, on a page from 1993, I found the line that froze me. "This workshop belongs to the hands that build, not the blood that claims. Skill is the only true inheritance, it cannot be given, only earned." I stared at the words, my pulse steady, my purpose clear. For the first time in years, I wasn't angry. I was ready. If you love real emotional stories, hit subscribe, we post one every week. Skill is the only true legacy. The words burned off the page like light through glass. He hadn't just been my mentor, he'd seen me. He knew. This wasn't just a journal entry, it was his intent. His will, in spirit if not in law. My anger didn't vanish. It sharpened. It went from wildfire to ice, clean, precise, unstoppable. I didn't take the journal. I sat there on the attic floor until 3 in the morning, carefully photographing every single page. This wasn't about family anymore. This was about legacy. And I finally had my weapon. By sunrise, I was in Claire's office. She read through the photos in silence, brow furrowed. "Emma," she said finally, tapping the page with Thomas Reed's handwriting. "This is powerful. It establishes founder intent, his philosophy, his belief that skill defines ownership. But that alone won't void the succession. It's a family business. The court wants evidence. We need to prove 2 things, that you were the real driver of the company's success, and that Luke isn't fit to lead." "He's not just unfit," I said tightly. "He doesn't even understand the craft." "We'll need more than that," Claire replied. "We need proof. Documents. Numbers. Something they can't deny." That night, I opened my laptop in her guest room. They'd cut me off from the company's systems, but they'd forgotten who built them. I still had access to the financial servers through a maintenance backdoor I'd written years ago. I started digging through Luke's expense reports. It didn't take long. $9,500 for office upgrades. The invoice listed a surround sound system and an 80-inch TV, delivered not to the workshop but to Luke's downtown condo. I just stared at the address. He was charging the company for his home theater, while I hadn't taken a paycheck in years. The disgust came slow and cold. Then I kept digging. I found a $5,000 payment to a law firm I didn't recognize. The invoice said, consulting services. The payment went to an LLC, not the family company. I opened the Texas Business Registry. Luke Designs LLC. Filed 6 months ago. Sole owner, Luke Reed. My pulse thudded. Why would he pay his own shell company with family funds? I scrolled through the filings. Then I saw it, 3 trademark applications. Not for his name. For mine. The Sierra chair. The Monarch desk. The Austin credenza. My designs. My work. My legacy. He wasn't just stealing money. He was stealing the future. He'd created a lifeboat to sail off with everything I built. He wasn't the golden child anymore. He was a fraud, and I had proof. The preliminary hearing felt like a full trial. My parents sat behind Luke, their faces stone. They looked at me like I'd betrayed them by breathing. Luke sat at the table in an expensive suit, that same smug half-smile like this was an inconvenience, not justice. His lawyer started with soft questions, his vision, his strategy, his commitment to growth. Luke was smooth. He said all the right words, innovation, synergy, forward thinking. Then it was Claire's turn. She stood, calm but surgical. Mr. Reed, she said, her voice even. Your title at the company is Creative Director, correct? That's right, Luke answered easily, flashing the judge a confident smile. Excellent, she said, opening a folder. Then please explain, in your own words, the design process behind the Sierra collection, the one you claim to have created. He blinked. Just once. And that was the first moment his smile faltered. The one that won the Austin Design Award last year, Claire said evenly. Luke's smile twitched. Well, it's a very creative process. A lot of inspiration. We wanted to capture the movement of the river. Inspiration, Claire echoed. Got it. And what materials did you select for that collection? He hesitated. The best ones, of course. Premium quality. Specifically, she pressed. Walnut. Maple. White oak. Luke shifted in his chair. That's what our techs are for. I handle the, bigger concepts. Claire nodded once. By techs, you mean your sister. Emma, the person who actually designed the entire collection. His lawyer jumped up. Objection. The judge waved her hand. Overruled. Continue. Mr. Reed, Claire said calmly, can you tell the court the difference between a mortise and a tenon joint? Luke scoffed. I don't build the furniture. I'm the face of the brand. I'm the one who sells it. So, you're the creative director of a furniture company, Claire said, eyes locked on him, and you don't know how to build, design, or identify the materials used in your own products. I handle the business side, he snapped. Let's talk about that, Claire said, pulling out another file. She handed a copy to him and placed one on the screen for the judge. Here's an invoice, $9,500 for office equipment. Can you explain this? We needed new computers, Luke said quickly. I see, she replied. Except this invoice is for a surround sound system and an 80-inch television. And the delivery address? Your private apartment in Barton Creek. Is that correct? The courtroom went still. My father's face drained of color. My mother just stared, stunned. Now, Claire continued, let's discuss Luke Reed Designs, LLC. Are you familiar with that company? Luke's complexion went pale. I don't. This is a business you registered 6 months ago, correct? She said, holding up the filing documents. And these, she placed the final papers under the projector, are trademark applications for the Sierra chair, the Monarch desk, and the Austin credenza. Designs created by your sister, Emma Reed. Why, she asked softly, were you attempting to trademark your sister's work under your own shell company? The silence was electric. Luke stammered, looking helplessly toward his lawyer, then at our parents. I was protecting company assets. Claire stepped closer, her voice like a scalpel. Or were you stealing them? He froze. No answer. The room had already decided. When the judge finally spoke, her tone was sharp and final. I have reviewed all evidence, she began. The plaintiff's contributions to this company are overwhelming. Mr. Reed's journal clearly establishes founder intent. She looked straight at Luke. What I also find is gross misuse of company funds and an attempt to defraud through unauthorized trademarks. She turned to my parents. The current succession plan is invalidated. My heart pounded as Claire rested a steadying hand on my arm. Given Mr. Luke Reed's misconduct, the judge continued, and the irreparable conflict, the business will be sold at auction. Proceeds will be divided equally, after Mr. Reed reimburses the company $9,500 for personal expenses and $5,000 in fraudulent legal fees. The gavel struck. It was over. As we left the courtroom, Luke was already shouting at his attorney. My father looked hollow. My mother stopped beside me, her voice trembling with fury. You did this. You destroyed this family. I met her eyes, calm and cold. No, I said. You did. 6 weeks later, the company was gone, sold, paid out, history. But for the first time, I felt something new. Not victory. Not even relief. Just peace. After Luke's repayments cleared, $110,000 landed in my new account. It wasn't a fortune, but it was clean, earned, and entirely mine. I didn't buy a car or a condo. I found a dusty 2,000 square foot workshop in East Austin, half lit by cracked skylights, and signed the lease that same day. Half the money went to a used CNC machine and a few solid tools. I hung a small wooden sign above the door, Legacy Workshop. My first call was to Rachel, our old production manager. I can't pay what you made before, I told her. Not yet. But I can offer a percentage of profits. She laughed. When do I start? We spent weeks just getting the lights working, oiling machines, resetting the calibration. The smell of sawdust and metal came back to me like oxygen. My second call was to old clients. My third, I didn't have to make. The phone rang on its own. Emma, said Brian, the senior engineer from Vantage Hotels. His voice was warm. Heard you started your own shop. Thank God. None of us liked dealing with your brother. He kept pitching brand vibes. We need real craftsmanship again. Let's talk about the new 12-hotel contract. Just like that, I had my anchor client back. Not because of my last name, but because of my work. A few weeks later, I went to a liquidation auction. They were selling off the remnants of the old family company. In the corner, buried under a tarp, I saw it, my grandfather's drafting table. The same one where Thomas Reed had taught me to sketch when I was 10. I bought it for $40. I spent a week restoring it, sanding the surface, tightening the brass fixtures until it shone again. Then I placed it in the corner of my new shop. That night, with the soft hum of the CNC in the background and sawdust in the air, I sat at that table. I sharpened a pencil, pulled out a clean sheet of paper, and started sketching the first line of my new design. For the first time in 10 years, I felt whole.